going to address an extremely urgent issue, and I think all of you already know what that is, and that's the state of behavioral health care workforce in our country. For so many reasons, this is a very important issue. Issues of workforce have been around for decades. It's been all of my life in the mental health field. It's been a problem with workforce, but there have been a lot of changes lately, significant changes that has changed the landscape for mental health and substance use workforce. The Affordable Care Act and the option to Medicaid expansion has had millions more people with insurance, which of course naturally means a million more workforce people are needed. There have always been great gaps, and the gaps are getting greater and greater. When Judy was president of the Mental Health Systems Act, one of the things we had in that act was incentives for people to go into the mental health profession. And when you look back today, it would have made a lot of difference. Of course, there would still be problems, but I still can look back at that we saw back then, that there was a great need. One of the biggest issues associated with our workforce is the aging of mental health providers. The average age of psychiatrists today is about 57. And a report in 2013 by SAMHSA has also highlighted other key factors: high turnover rates, worker shortage, burnout, stigma, as well as inadequate compensation and access to care. I was talking to a woman who was running a mental health facility one day, and she said average turnover was 3 months. She said she even had turnovers of 1 month patient. The average was about 3 months. And that's, I hope, an unusual statistic, an unusual situation, but I don't know, you never know. There's so many problems associated with the development of behavioral health workforce. And this past year and last year, I think we've been working on a couple of years, but there was we did a study of rural health care in Georgia, and there's night and day. And I remember Tom said, it'll stay that way because we'll never have the workforce. And we have some new things like peer support, which is going to be very helpful, and telemedicine. But I was reading an article just a few days ago that said that's still just one person. If for the privacy that's involved and so forth with telemedicine, it still has to be one person. It could probably be expanded in some way with groups like group talk sections, but still just a great problem again. The Planning Committee for this year's symposium has done a terrific job identifying the 3 main overarching themes that we will be focusing on for the next day and a half. These are policy issues associated with workforce development, the importance of integrated care, and training and education. And to help set the stage for these 3 topics, we have involved Dr. Gail Stewart. Dr. Gail Stewart is one of our favorite people of our mental health program here at Carter. She's been such a help to our program with the Liberia program, as well as with our policy work. And in fact, Gail has been a close friend of the mental health program for years. I'm going to let you read a biography in your pamphlet that you get to do the program. But I do want to say that I wanted to point out that Gail is president of the board of directors of the Annapolis Coalition of the Behavioral Health Workforce, and was part of the planning committee for this symposium. And so we're really, really pleased to have Gail with us. That's what today. Gail, would you come forward?
Good afternoon. I'm really delighted to be here. Thank you, Mrs. Carter, Dr. Borneman, everyone at the Carter Center, feels like family now, as well as so many of you in the audience who I know as old friends and colleagues in behavioral health. And so I'm really looking forward to an amazing day and a half where we tackle probably one of the biggest issues that's facing us in terms of the quality of healthcare in this country. So as I was beginning to pull my thoughts together, I tried to capture what I would like to share with you in the next hour, things that actually will reverberate through the next day and a half. And so I decided to focus on the behavioral healthcare workforce, evolution, transformation, or revolution. And I'm going to talk about each of those elements in turn. But first, I'd like to tell you what I will and will not do for the next hour. I will not read you an extremely brilliant paper with tons of footnotes about this topical area. I will not tell you that we have the best healthcare system in the world with the best healthcare providers. I will not tell you or show you slides about the prevalence of mental health and addictions problems in this country, or slides showing the direct and indirect costs associated with these illnesses that are not treated. I will not track for you the aging of the behavioral health workforce, because we all know about that, nor the lack of diversity, nor the maldistribution of the few providers we have. I will not talk about how the lack of a behavioral health workforce is a worldwide problem and every country is experiencing it. And I will not talk about the issues related to recruitment and retention of those who work in the behavioral workforce, because we all know that when the NIH training grants stopped decades ago, it profoundly affected our lack of individuals entering the field. And the chronic poor salaries continue to plague us in terms of both recruitment and retention. These issues, you all know, they have plagued us for decades. And in fact, we have so many reports and data summaries of these problems that if we stack them next to the Washington Monument, it would be double the size of the Washington Monument. So we clearly do not need to reiterate those here this afternoon. However, I think that the way in which our life is often as providers is depicted in this slide. It's a slippery slope. It's cold. We're often feeling like we're in this problem alone, and we're not making the progress that we need to make. So what I will do is, in the course of the next couple of minutes, perhaps challenge some of your notions, stir the pot a little, raise some controversial ideas that not all of you hopefully will agree with, and stimulate discussion that will carry over for the next day and a half. So many of the topics that I touch on, there will be plenaries or mini plenaries that you